818 to San Diego. Become a legend in the valley like Danny Trejo. This what I had to do. This is Valley View. This what I had to do. This is Valley View. Let me sing it like eh, eh, eh. So what you want? We sing it like eh, eh, eh. So what you want? We sing it like eh, eh, eh. So what you want? We sing it like eh, eh, eh. So what you want?
Yes. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending when and where you're listening to Valley Views. I am your host, Hector, here on Valley Views on KROJ 101.5 FM here in the San Fernando Valley. And we are live here in the city of San Fernando. Our broadcasting antennas are out in Panorama, and we're just here on a lovely Thursday evening, everybody, March 31st, 2022, for our Meet the Candidates 2022 series. Before we get started, I definitely want to just give a big shout out to all of our past and present sponsors for just being with us, for supporting the vision and the mission that we have here on Valley Views on KROJ. We're talking about My Valley Pass, Brewyard Beer Company, Need for Dough, 1984 Vintage Shop, Cats Club, Gimme Some Baked Goods, Gigi's Goodies, La Escala Cafe, GT Media Pros, as well as Sandy's from the 714. And we just want to thank everybody for rocking with us. We've been receiving some more sponsorship requests, so we're going to, as soon as we can, process those. And just thank you to all of our audience, our sponsors, and just everyone that is here with us and rocking with us. We just really appreciate the support so that we could continue to uplift the brilliant people of the San Fernando Valley and beyond with everything that we do here at Valley Views, not just in studio, but all the things we've been doing in our community, all the things from just covering different events in our community and things that are happening, to also putting on some music events. In fact, big shout out to Juan the Flautista, our crew, Jose, who's right here in the studio here with us, Jose the Panda, DJ Grover, Angel Martinez, Jessica Martinez, Joe Pulido, who were the crew that actually really helped to put the Danny Trejo mural mini concert that we had at at the restaurant at the Danny Trejo mural in the city of Pacoima, along with, in partnership with Juan the Flautista. We had just an extraordinary time out there, not only with the community, but also showcasing so many artistic talent that we have from the 818, from dancers to bands, to vocalists, bass players. I mean, the whole works. We just had an amazing time out there in Pacoima, and we'll be at the San Fernando Outdoor Market on April 16th, which is a Saturday from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And so we'll be also doing that as well. So that's coming up very, very soon in a couple of weeks. So we'll be there, and we'll have some live entertainment as well. And just really looking forward to that event, to more than anything engage with our community, talk to our community, and really get to know them, and also get to know like what are some of the issues, challenges, solutions, in our community, so that we could also bring those up here at KROJ. And so we're going to go ahead and start with Meet the Candidates here 2022 series. And just before we get started, introduce our guests here. I just want to say that Valley Views and KROJ do not endorse any political candidates or campaigns. Our main goal here is to really educate the public, our audience, with a variety of campaigns, their platforms, their missions, so that our listening audience could just be aware of that. So with that said, we're going to go ahead and now welcome here to the Meet the Candidates 2022 series, Aarika Rhodes, who is the candidate for U.S. Congressional District 32. So with that said, Aarika Rhodes, first of all, good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. And we're excited that we have you here. We have you live in the studio. And also just the fact that, you are running for this congressional district that, represents, big portions of the San Fernando Valley. And we'll get into that in just a bit. But I want us to just start with first, Why did you decide to jump in and run for this congressional district?
Thank you for that question. But first, I just want to say thank you for even having this. I think that this is really important for people in our community to get to meet different candidates up and down, the political spectrum and running for different offices. I mean, that's a huge part of our democracy. And, all good ideas need to be brought to the table. So one, thank you for creating this series. So my name is Aarika Rhodes, and I'm an elementary school teacher. And I kind of go between math and science, or just science, depending on the school year. But for me, when Trump got elected, I decided that in 2020, I was going to get very politically active, because it's not about a Republican Democrat thing. It was more of a rhetoric thing. Half of my family's Republican, half of them are Democrats. So it was more like just the temperature of our country. And then what ended up happening was I got very active. When it was all over, I still felt like things were not changing, that we needed new representation in Congress, not just in the presidency. And then the pandemic hit. We had George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, all these different events that were happening. But really, when the pandemic hit and nobody was advocating for young people, that really frustrated me. And so I looked to, the current sitting Congress member, Brad Sherman, couldn't even get on the newsletter, couldn't find ways to get involved. And so I just reached out to my family. We had a family meeting, and my dad encouraged me to run. And what's so amazing is that it was myself and another teacher sitting at a coffee shop for 6 weeks, coming up with our platform that was going to be community focused, about young people, about bringing people together, just good ideas. And then we announced in a couple months later, so we started, it took us 6 weeks to build it. And then in our first 72 hours, we had raised over $30,000. And by August, $50,000. And then we just became very viable. And for me, this platform that we built and why I'm running is about so much more than just getting into Congress. I think we need a new way of governance. I think we need to see our elected officials in the community actually caring, not just taking a photo and leaving, that can relate to the policies in which they're advocating for. And so our campaign represents that. And it's why I'm running, to make a difference.
Well, sounds like, there's a couple of different reasons why. And I definitely feel that passion right there as well. And tell me a little bit about we've seen just talking about economics now here. We've seen definitely, just a rise in our inflation. Yep. I mean, inflation right now seems to, when it comes to food prices, of course, with the, conflict in Ukraine and Russia happening as well. But even prior to that conflict, we definitely see just skyrocketing prices and also just our economy that's still kind of recovering from the pandemic. Yeah. So what do you think, or what is your economic plan moving forward? What policies do you think you would like to implement and work with other folks in the House of Representatives to really bring about a change here in the 818 with, both federal dollars, but also, federal policy for not just the 818, but also, our nation as a whole?
Yeah. So yes, people are absolutely being hit hard with inflation. It's kind of emerged as on any given day between the one or number 3 issue that people care most about right now in our community. And, for me, when I think about why we have so much inflation, it's not just one thing. It's a lot of moving pieces. And I think we have to remember the supply chain. It really has impacted the entire world. And now with the issue, that's the situation that's happening in Ukraine, we're also seeing that farming is going to be heavily impacted with all the sanctions and stuff. So for me, I think that what we need to do is prioritize our small businesses, because they were hit really hard. And what people don't understand is our small business owners actually employ a lot of the people in our community. And so that will allow them to have economic prosperity, be able to pay their bills, etc. I think we also need to do trickle up economics. I think we have to invest in people. What we know is when we start from the top and go down, it never gets to the people that need it the most. And I also think that we need to focus at the root causes of why we have such an increase in homelessness to begin with. And so something that we're running on is foster care reform. What people don't understand is when kids age out of the system, they immediately fall into poverty or end up in our prison system. And then that ends up costing taxpayers $100,000 per person when that money could be allocated into our schools to make sure that the kids have the skill sets they need for the jobs of the future. I also think that we need to invest more in creating, just more things in our country where we're not dependent on anyone else. And I think that will also will not only create jobs, but allow for economic gains. But the thing about the economy that is really critical is the president sets the economic agenda. He's the one that sets the tax cuts or whatever's happening. And then we would then have the opportunity to vote on it, to have influence. But I do want to plug that our district has never had a woman, and women end up bringing 9% more money back into the district. So for me, if I had the honor of serving, I would fight to bring money back to our district for our small businesses and for education and foster care reform.
Okay, and then we'll get into some of that too with the foster care and things
Please.
of that sort. What I wanted to touch upon too now is, alongside what you just mentioned there, another thing that I think we've been experiencing here in the San Fernando Valley, of course, but really nationwide in major urban cities. Is our unhoused neighbors and the homeless crisis or emergency that we have seen, and we've had federal dollars, we've had bond measures passed as well, different approaches to this emergency that we have. What do you think has been missing to really get to really long-term solutions to these really crises that are happening in our neighborhoods? And also the other part to this question is, what are like some actual solutions that you think would be long-term as far as assistance from the federal government down to, our local cities here in the San Fernando Valley?
Very good questions. There's three things. And I love the fact that you framed as long-term solutions, because what we're seeing is everyone just throwing a Band-Aid on these issues or just throwing money at these issues, and it's not getting solved. Yeah. So I'm going to reiterate the importance of foster care reform. And I just basically stated, the problem with it. But if we just fix that one system, that would prevent 60% of people falling into poverty in the first place. Because when kids age out, that's where they go, our prison system. And also, I think that, and I've been talking with developers, I think we need to create pathways for home ownership for young people. I'm 36 years old, right? And and you can understand that it's probably for most people very, very difficult to purchase a home in our district. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah. Not at all.
It's incredibly difficult. Right. And so therefore, one cannot ever acquire wealth. We're always stuck with having to pay 3% more in rent, and it becomes impossible to save for the down payment. So something that we are looking into, and I think it's a really cool idea, is having developers work with apartment complexes. So when a percentage of their rent can go into a separate account, and then after like X amount of years on that lease, then that money transfers into a down payment for a home. And so that would allow someone to go from being a renter to an owner, and then they could start building equity, and then they're in a fixed mortgage rate, and then they don't have to worry about the constant increase of their rent going up. So that's one solution. And then I also think, and I know it's not just because I'm a teacher saying this, but we have to fix our education system. Our kids are graduating and they're going right into remediation when they go into our college courses. courses. And people don't think that's a big deal, but it is absolutely a big deal because they end up spending another year or two just taking remedial classes, and then they're paying an additional $4,000 to $5,000, which increases their student loan debt. And then they start their coursework, and then by the time that they graduate, they can't even do the jobs that are current. And so I really do think that education needs to be a priority, and that we do need to account for automation and jobs being automated away. I think it's an imperative.
Yeah. And then let's get on education
Please.
too as well. What about the federal government has a variety of special education programs that are required, right, by federal guidelines, but yet sometimes the federal dollars aren't attached to these requirements. And so I believe even just here alone in LAUSD, I believe about $1 billion just goes into special education by the local budget of LAUSD. And so, because we have to meet, in general, right, these requirements must be met by, that are set by the federal government. So would you prioritize something of that sort where, federal requirements and guidelines come with federal funds as well?
Absolutely. There's a lack of accountability, and we need that. We need accountability, more transparency, and just to fix these systems. Even when the government is allocating money, there's no system in place for the filtration of that money, and that's a problem. And so, yes, to answer your question, I would absolutely support that. And the thing is too, our district, not that I would associate this with having special needs, but I'm just using another example. Our district has the largest deaf community in the entire country, and it's underserved. And so that's a huge population that, I absolutely support. I learned sign language in college, to advocate for, but there's no money being given to help them be able to prosper in our community. So I do think, to your point, is that we do need to make sure that both are attached and that there's transparency and accountability.
Yeah, I mean, public education in general is just one of our staples of our democracy,
Yes.
And we must figure out ways to, fund and really bring about accountability with those funds as well. And I wanted to just move into also another issue that really is impacting all of us. I mean, on a daily basis here, when I check the weather app, you just never know sometimes what the weather's going to be like. We know that there's a climate change that's undeniable. And, one of the things that we've seen here, specifically in the San Fernando Valley, is things like the Aliso Canyon methane leak. We've also seen things like in Sun Valley, actually, a power plant that was also leaking as well. And so we have these issues that are right here in our own communities that have had an impact on our climate, our environment, our communities,
our health,
and really, yes, public health, and putting our communities in danger. What do you think how the federal government can help assist, support, mitigate issues of climate change that not only are affecting our whole nation, our entire world, really our planet, but specifically local impacted issues in Congressional District 32?
Yesterday I literally protested with everyone on the Aliso Canyon, and it support the bill that's actually being introduced to get passed through our state legislature. I think that's the thing too, is that we need to have people in office that have the political courage to stand up and fight for these things. We've already said publicly, and it's on our website, that we would sign on to the Green New Deal, that we would prioritize climate change. It's really important. But I think it has to be not just that, but also when an elected official has the opportunity to talk about an issue, and they need to talk about climate change. There was a statistic, and it blew my mind. When Jeff Bezos was going into space, 211 minutes was allocated for that one day that he went to space. And then if you look at the year of 2020, only 240 minutes was allocated to climate change. So we also need to make sure that our elected officials, and as community members, putting the pressure on them to talk about it, because I don't think people are fully aware. There were 60 kids in our district in Northridge, across from the Target on Balboa and Nordhoff, protesting for climate change. And I pulled over. I stopped what I was doing, pulled over and protested with them because they care about it. And we have to make sure that our young people have a planet that they can depend on and that they can be healthy, because there is an increase in asthma. We see the fires and all these things. So it needs to be a priority. I also think that we looked it up, and there's like 50 amazing bills right now that would help reverse the impacts of that we've been experiencing in climate change. So we need to get those bills through the House, through the Senate, signed into law. And I will put this on Joe Biden. Make it a priority. You ran on it, so make it a priority, because people really care about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another thing along with that, just like the caring piece anyway, is related to the, we have currently our borders are still, this was done under President Trump, and Biden still continuing to do so. Our borders are technically still closed to refugees under an act that is based on public health, COVID-19 pandemic. We see all kinds of folks trying to come in, and also we have, undocumented immigrants here in our country that are also, trying to fight for immigration reform itself. In fact, we were we covered an event this particular Sunday honoring the legacy of Cesar E. Chavez, which his birthday is today. And part of that caravan that we were able to cover on Sunday was talking about immigration reform here in the San Fernando Valley as well, because we have, a lot of dreamers, a lot of undocumented individuals living here, which I'm sure are also living in Congressional District 32. So what is your plan for immigration reform as a whole for our nation?
One, we need to protect the dreamers. That is an absolute must. I think that it's important. We also need to acknowledge that, just because someone is coming here, that adds value to our country. And I think people don't realize that that's a really important part. They play a really important part of our local economy. And so I think we do need to have a pathway to citizenship. And again, it goes down to the people that we're electing into Congress to make, and even our state legislature to be able to make this a priority. And, this might not be the most attractive answer, but it's a truthful answer. Campaign finance, where people get their money, matters because it shows you what they prioritize. And if candidates are not getting their money from groups that care about this, then they're not going to prioritize it. They're not going to prioritize the dreamers or immigration reform and create pathways to citizenship. So for me, we have committed to making it an absolute priority, because we know the value of people from wherever they're coming from, the value that they bring to our community.
Yes. Thank you for that too, just for kind of, giving us a little bit of like, just your vision for your campaign. And, before we wrap up here, just a couple more questions. But one is just, how does it feel like to be on the campaign road, if you will?
An honor. It's an absolute honor. I'm a regular person. I don't come from money. My mom's a $5 recurring donor. I'm a teacher, and I live a very basic, boring life typically. And, I just was so tired of not seeing a difference. And I was like forced to run almost, because I was like, at some point you're just like, I'll just do it myself. If you guys don't have the political will and the courage to fight for the things that we were just talking about, then I'll do it. Because I just don't want to hold a sign anymore. I don't want to protest. I don't think anyone should have to waste their life standing on a sidewalk, holding a sign, knowing nothing's going to change. We need legislation. And that's the only way we're going to make a difference. And I think for me, the best part of our campaign is how many young people work on my campaign, help with my campaign, former students, current students that I had, it's just incredible, to see their support of me, and, to show them that you can do hard things. Running for office is hard. You have to have thick skin, a lot of energy, and you have to have the heart and the will to do this. And so for me, the amount of good that we've done throughout the whole time I've been running is amazing. And to go back to the point about money, I'm very intentional about this. And you can go to my Instagram and see, because I'm not making this up. A percentage of our campaign contributions go back into our community. When we do local events, we support our local businesses, from all walks of life, to support them and to raise awareness about the importance of our local economy. We've done diaper drives. I get made fun of a lot. Like, why doesn't she just run for city council? Because you know what? The members in the House should also be public servants, and that should be mandated that they're in the community doing this work. So even if we lose, or regardless of the outcome, I know we've done good along the way. And so I'm very, very proud about that. Very proud.
Right on. And so our final question here is,
sure.
Just what are some closing remarks that you want to leave our audience with?
I would love for people to, when they're casting their vote on June 7th, to really think about, what you would like to see in your representative. I don't care who you vote for. Obviously, I want people to vote for me, but I want people to, vote, but think about what you want in your representative. Look at all the candidates and make an informed decision, because we have an opportunity to bring real change. And I'm not like, I'm not very loud, and I'm not like performative, because I'm so focused on doing the work. And I hope that people can see that if they decide to vote for me, my heart, my tenacity, my will, because I came from nothing, and our campaign has raised over almost $350,000, all everyday people, working class people, no corporate PAC money, no big bank money. And I think that in and of itself shows that we really care about this, and the people on my team. I say we because it's like it's been the community that's been uplifting. And also, people think, I'm so tired of politics. Nothing ever changes. Yes, it will. It will change. If we get new people into office, we can have change. So I please encourage everyone to please do your due diligence, learn about all the candidates, and decide who you feel will be the best representative for our district.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So we want to thank you on behalf of Valley Views, KROJ, the entire crew. Just thank you for coming here, explaining and sharing some of your vision for your particular congressional seat that you're running for. We're talking with Aarika Rhodes, everybody, candidate for U.S. Congressional District 32 on the Meet the Candidates 2022 series. And we'll be right back after a quick, short musical break, y'all.
Yo, it's Fernando. Shouts out to Valley Views, man. They played me on the station. I was like, let me make you a jingle. So this is my jingle I made for them. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. This is what I had to do. This is Valley Views. Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? Got me singing like, eh, eh, eh. So what you want? I wasn't tripping when I lost my job. No reason to lie to my mom. Now I've got 8, 9 to 5, y'all. I was like, right on. No work on weekends, eh? Waking up early, sleep at 8. I think I'm surely